On this episode of Hot Rod Hoarders, we're checking out the massive collection at the Horton Classic Car Museum in downtown Nocona, Texas. When you walk up on this museum, you'll notice it looks like an old school Chevrolet dealership, and when you go inside, you'll see tons of Chevrolets. But just a heads up that there are plenty of other makes and models represented, but I'm going to show you kind of a quick walk through here, and I want to encourage you to check this place out in person if you're ever in the area. It's a cool spot. It's a cool town in general, and I was able to check it out while I was on the Great Race. So when we walk in the front door, we're met with tons of Corvettes. We've got about 35 Corvettes in this front room. They're all arranged by year. We're starting with a 1953 Corvette, polo white with red interior, absolutely as original as you can get. Then we've got a 1954 in pennant blue, a really cool color combination. And then on the other side, a 1955 in gypsy red. Now, 1955 was the introduction of the V8 for Chevrolet. So, you know, the early cars, 53 and 54, actually had a six-cylinder. Really strange to think that a Corvette had a six-cylinder, but that's how they got their start. Then we've got some other first-generation Corvettes. C1 is what most people call them. There's 1956, 57 represented. Then we get into the quad headlight years from 1958 to 1962. Now, there was a lot of changes going on with the engine packages. There was a lot of changes going on with the appearance of these cars through the years. Even though they still have that classic cove on the side, they still have all the cool trim, the white wall tires, the cool hubcaps, all that. Hands down, my favorite car out of this C1 collection is the 1962 that's in the back. This thing is all black, not very much chrome in 1962. They were really kind of stripping these cars down and preparing for the next generation in 1963. But this particular car is extremely rare. It is a fuel-injected car, and this thing's got some other rare components like big brakes, and it was one of only 254 made. This car's got original paint. It's black with black steel wheels and black wall tires. It's as stripped down as you can get it, and it just looks super mean and tough. There are several other fuel-injected cars, including this 61 and another 62 that's all red instead of the sinister all-black one like we saw earlier. Moving on to the second generation, or C2 Corvette, there's a ton of great examples here, and it all starts off with the 63 model, the split-window coupe, one of the most famous Corvettes of all time, and he's got several of them here. Then we got your traditional 1967 big block cars. He's got a couple of them up here in the front row. Both of them big blocks, both of them with killer options. One of them is a 435 horse tri-power car. The other is an air-conditioned car with the big block, which is a pretty rare set of options. Moving into the third generation Corvette, or C3, he's got several big block cars, lots of cool, rare options. I really like this one. It's a yellow 1969 427 Roadster. And I just like it because it's got the little skinny white walls on there. Those are Firestone wide oval tires. And the little hubcaps, the turbine style hubcaps. I used to not really like the way those looked, but on this car they really just kind of set it off. Another rare C3 is this 1970, and it has a prototype M-code engine in it. That's 350 horse with air conditioning, and this is one of 5 that are known to exist. Now, this car isn't particularly rare, but I love the way it looks. War bonnet yellow, it's got an LT1 in it. You know that this thing ran good. Toward the back of this Corvette section, he has a 50s diner, and next to it is this customized Corvette Nomad. Now, it doesn't really fit in with a lot of these restored cars, and it certainly doesn't fit in with the restored Corvette enthusiast, but it's still pretty cool to look at. Moving into the back portion of the museum, there's a ton of diversity in here. It's not all Chevrolets, it's not all Corvettes. We're starting off with a 1940 Lincoln Zephyr, really elegant, really rare car. And then we're seeing a 1951 Lincoln convertible. Then we've got a Continental, 57 Cadillac. We got some big cars here, some luxurious, high-end cars from the 1940s and 1950s. Another luxurious car here is a 1948 Lincoln Continental, and next to it is a 1959 Mercury Colony Park station wagon. This is a 4-door hardtop wagon, so you could roll all 4 of the door glass down and it's just wide open airflow. Really cool piece. Less than 6,000 of these cars were built. There are a few Packards in here, some of the big 30s ones. Then we got a 1955 Packard Clipper convertible, another really rare car. And as we make our way back through here, we even see a few Mopars. We've got a 1969 Roadrunner, and then on the other side, we're going to skip over there and take a look at a Hemi Cuda convertible. Now it says right here on the sign that it's a tribute car because they only made a handful of the real thing. But still cool to see somebody put together a really nicely done tribute. And anytime the words Mopar and convertible are in the same sentence, it's a pretty rare piece, and he's got a few of them on display here. Speaking of Mopar, I noticed a few drag cars in the back corner over here, and I had to go check them out. One of them was a modern Dodge Challenger drag car, and instead of a modern Hemi, like the third generation Hemi, it actually has a Viper V10 engine in it. So this is a really rare combination. I don't know what this thing runs on the track. I don't know if it's ever been on the track, but it's a pretty crazy combination. Other modern factory drag cars that are back here is a Copo Camaro and two Cobra Jet Mustangs. Now both of these are supercharged 4-valve V8s, and these things run really good. They are strong runners even though they don't have a ton of cubic inches. We check out some more Mustangs sort of in this little Shelby station here. There's several Shelby inspired cars, and there's a Cobra, a modern GT500, then we've got a 69 Mustang R code, and then a Shelby GT350. Some really rare stuff here. I'm really liking this 1951 Ford Glass Par. Now this is a limited production, what you might call a kit car from back in the day. It was a fiberglass body, but when you look under the hood, you'll see that it does have a 255 cubic inch flathead V8 with some high performance aftermarket parts on it from back in the day. And this car is really nicely restored. Only 29 of these cars are known to exist. And this thing is really slick and really cool. It's got that cool sports car look, but it's got all American stuff underneath. Throughout this collection, there's a lot of cool vintage GM stuff. One of the ones that jumped out to me was this 1962 Pontiac Grand Prix. And this thing is done up in vintage superstock styling. It's got skinny Kragers on the front, steel wheels and slicks on the back, and you know this thing's got a killer Pontiac motor under the hood. Another cool Pontiac is this 1958 Pontiac Bonneville convertible. And nearby are twin 1957 Oldsmobile convertibles. Same color combination, same everything. I'd say one of the most high dollar cars in this back section is this 1931 Packard Dual Cowl Phaeton. Now anytime you got two windshields on your car, you know that's pretty fancy, and this thing has got to be a big money piece. Off to the side, there's another section of this museum that covers a lot more Chevrolet stuff, and we're going to run through them right here. We've got a 1958 Impala convertible, nicely restored car, and next to it is a 1961 Impala convertible. Now the next car really got my attention because it's a 1968 Chevrolet Biscayne. It's the most stripped down car you could get from the factory back then. It's a two-door post or two-door sedan. Absolutely one of the most rare GM cars I've ever seen. It's a one of one, and it has L88 aluminum cylinder heads on it, dealer installed with all the proper paperwork to back it up. Now this car originally did come with a 427 big block in it, but it did not have those really famous, really limited production aluminum heads. So this car already started rare and became a one of one with a dealer installed cylinder head option that's just basically unheard of. Throughout this section of the museum, you'll see some modified cars, some different wheels, some different brakes, different stance, but the cars are still pretty significant. Like this 409 car, very significant car, and then next to it is a 1965 Chevelle Z16, one of only a couple hundred made, big block. This is when this was really kicking off for Chevrolet. Big block was a new thing. And then next to it is a 1969 Camaro Rally Sport convertible. And then as we move along, it's another 69 Camaro. This one was bought at Yenko Chevrolet, and it is a Dick Harrell L89 aluminum heads, super rare piece, really nicely restored. And then the car that's right up next to the window is another L89 69 Camaro. Then we've got a 69 Camaro SS396 in Hugger Orange, got a 67 Chevy 2, 55 Chevy convertible, 57 Chevy convertible with fuel injection, and then rounding out this row is another Biscayne with a big block in it. Now I'm not sure exactly the history on this particular car, but it looks cool. It's got some big rallies on it. got a really cool look to it. So that pretty much does it for my tour of the Horton Classic Car Museum in Nocona, Texas. This guy has put together an incredible collection of cars that range from the 1930s all the way up into the modern era. Really nicely displayed, nicely preserved cars. And if you're a GM guy especially, there's a lot of cool stuff here to really sink your teeth into. So check it out if you're in the area. Thank you for watching this video.